Okay, for this exercise, we're going to schedule a motor vehicle appointment, which requires an ailment. And then we'll also have to make sure that we have the motor vehicle policy in the policies tab in order to bill that when they come in for that visit. Okay. Now, if you go to page 44, adding an ailment to an appointment, because it's going to be motor vehicle appointment, we're actually going to have to, in the training database, create an ailment because there's not going to be one there for this patient for this visit, and attach it to the appointment. So first thing is you're going to search for your patient. Patient calls in. You're going to search for your patient and get them in context. Okay. And then you're going to come down to your coverage type. This appointment is going to be a medical appointment. So we're going to click on, it's going to be a motor vehicle appointment. It defaulted to medical. So we want to click on motor vehicle, which means we now need an ailment. So we're going to click our big red cross to the right. When that ailment information window opens, if there is already an ailment for this visit, you'll be able to look at the comment up here and be able to tell, based on the information listed there, whether this ailment goes with this appointment. If it does, you make sure it's selected, you click attach to this appointment, save, and okay, and you're done. But if there's not one that goes with this visit, you have to create it. So we're going to click our magic wand. It's going to start a new ailment. Down here where it says ailment type, if you click that drop down, we're doing a motor vehicle accident appointment. So we're going to select motor vehicle accident. Notice that it changed your ailment type up here to say motor vehicle. Now, in order to get information to populate in this comment section up here, we have to type it in the ailment comment field down here below ailment type. So I want you to click in that field. There are 3 pieces of information that you're going to type in. One is the date of the accident. What date did that accident occur? For training purposes, we're going to say it happened yesterday. So I'm going to do March 23rd, 2021. Do not put dashes or slashes for your date. You could do all numbers for the date, 03 space 02 space 23 space 2021 if you wanted to. You can put the date in however you want. You can put it in military format if you wanted to, but don't use any dashes or slashes. Then you're going to hit your space bar. The next piece of information is what got injured in that accident. I'm going to say broken right arm. And then I'm going to hit my space bar. The last piece of information you're going to put in the comment field is the claim number. So you're going to ask the patient, what is your claim number? They should already have that. Do not type out the word claim or the word number. Do not put the number sign. Just type out the claim number. Today for training, it's going to be a capital R, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That will be the claim number for this ailment. Now, when we selected our ailment type, it automatically populated some fields here that are required. Some of it is a repeat of what you typed up here, but if you don't type these 3 pieces of information in the ailment comment field, you won't see it up here. And I'll show you another thing that you want to be able to see that you won't see if you don't put the comments in down here. So date of first symptom, because it was yesterday, I'm going to be lazy and click that calendar, double click on yesterday's date. You could free text that date in there if that accident was 6 months ago or a year ago. Instead of flipping through that calendar, you could just free text the date in. Now, when you go to your time of first symptom, what time did that accident happen? You don't have to be exact, but usually the patient knows what time that accident happened. It was about 5:30 yesterday afternoon. You do have to use military format here. So that would be 1730. Condition related to accident, if you click the drop down, it's going to be auto accident. They had a motor vehicle accident. Address, you want to put as much information in there as you can get as far as where that accident happened, including the city. But if the patient tells you it was somewhere in Casey County, you could put Casey County in here. But again, we want to try to get as much information. So we're going to say this happened at Rose and Main Street, Lexington. Notice I didn't use any punctuation or special characters. I abbreviated street, and I wrote out the word and instead of putting the and sign. Tab to the state. It happened in Kentucky. I'm going to type KK. That's the fastest way to get Kentucky in there instead of scrolling all the way down that drop down. Tab to the comment, and that's a repeat of what got injured. Broken right arm. Now remember, anywhere you're typing in here, make sure you use mixed case. We need it to look professional. Now, this is very important, this next step. Do not click save until you click the box to attach to this appointment. Sometimes things in the APM database are specific or quirky. If I had hit save and then came back and checked the box to attach to this appointment and then clicked OK, it'll look like it's attached, but somewhere downstream as it flows through those different systems to get to where it needs to go, it may come unattached from that appointment. And then we end up getting a denied claim because we didn't send the ailment over. But if you check the box to attach the ailment first, it will always make sure that ailment is attached to that appointment as it flows downstream. So once you've checked the box, you're going to click save. Once it saves it, you'll then be able to click OK, and it will close that ailment information box. And when you come back out here, you now see the ailment comments that you typed in. If you did not type them in, that field that I showed you, it will not populate here. So when you see the comments, A, you've attached an ailment because you see the comments, and B, you attach the right one because you see the comments. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to tab to my scheduled department, and I'm going to type OR. It's going to change it to orthopedic surgery. That's the department we're going to use for this exercise to schedule this appointment. I'm going to tab to my location. I'm going to type OR. You'll get orthopedic surgery hand. I actually want to put orthopedic surgery trauma. You can click the drop down and find it and select it off of the drop down, or you could use the arrow down key on your keyboard, which is what I do, until I find orthopedic surgery trauma. Then you're going to tab to the resource, and we're going to schedule this with Dr. Prim. So I'm going to type PRI, and I'm going to stop right there because I get Daniel Prim. That's who I want. The appointment type, I'm going to tab there and type an N. Dr. Prim's new patient appointment types are set up for 5 minutes. The duration is 5 minutes. They have a different workflow in ortho. They may have, the resident come in, and then maybe a fellow come in, and then the provider comes in. So their workflow is probably different than your department workflow. Now, there was a referring doctor. It wasn't Dr. Halbert. Let's click the binocular. And it was Dr. Humphreys at the UKED. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to type HUMPH and stop right there. I'm not sure if he spells his name HUMPHRIES, HUMPHREY. I'm not exactly sure of the spelling, so I'm only going to use partial. And then when I hit enter or click search, here are my Dr. Humphreys. Now, if I look down this list, I see a Roger L. Humphrey. But if I look at that location, he's at Ohio Valley. That is not the Roger Humphreys that I'm looking for. If I pull my scroll bar all the way down, and notice how that Roger spells his name, R-E-Y. But if I pull my scroll bar all the way down, here's Roger Lloyd Humphreys at UK Emergency Medicine, and look how he spells his name. Totally different than R-E-Y. So if I had typed HUMPHREY, I would not have found this Roger Lloyd Humphreys at UK Emergency Medicine because it didn't type his name in the way he spells it. So it's not going to show up. All right, select him and click OK. Comments. I'm just going to say broken right arm. That is why they're coming in for this appointment. Now, for sake of training, this exercise for today, because we're going to piggyback on this and do recurring appointments. We're going to change this on or after date to today's date. So we're going to say that we're scheduling this appointment today. And then we're going to click our open times. It's going to bring up all the openings that provider has on or after the day you have in the on or after date field based on that location and that appointment type. So go ahead and find an appointment time on there. Make sure it's for today and click schedule. You'll get your schedule confirmation. Again, you can repeat to the patient whatever your saying is for your clinic. If you need to print the appointment reminder, you can check that box. I'm going to click OK. My appointment is scheduled, but I am not finished with the patient. We just scheduled motor vehicle, and for any patient, regardless of what appointment type you scheduled the appointment under, once you've scheduled the appointment, you need to go to the registration folder and verify demographics, address, phone number, PCP, emergency contact, insurance. Okay. Now, I could go directly to the registration folder, but if I do that, my patient's not in context. I am not checking the patient in. I've just scheduled an appointment. I can go through the registration companion window to get to the registration folder, and my patient will be in context when I do that. I don't have to look them up again. So I'm going to save myself some time and take that shortcut. So where you see patient, you see comment, and then you see patient info. You see the button that says patient info. I want you to click on that button. That is going to open up the patient information window. Don't start verifying anything you see here, because if there's a change, you cannot change it on this window. And then down here under balances, you might see some balance information down here, total balance, unassigned, in a looks like a credit balance. We take payments through APM, but we do not bill out of APM. So any payment the patient makes, copays or whatever, is going to show up in APM as a credit balance, but that is not correct. So anytime, just ignore the balance section. Anytime you see anything there, it is not correct information. So I tell people just ignore what you see on the patient information screen. And there's a button at the bottom right-hand side that says registration. Click on that. That is going to bring up the registration window through a companion window. Our patient is in context. This patient happens to be brand new to UK. They've not been seen at UK before, so we got that HIPAA statement. Nothing we can do about this because we are just scheduling an appointment. Go ahead and click OK to that. Okay. Now it's going to default to the summary tab. Again, you can't do any changes on the summary tab. It's just a summary of what's in these other tabs. You're going to click on the patient tab. Now, I recommend that you start tabbing through these fields. So I'm going to click twice in the social security number field, so it puts my cursor down there. I don't want it highlighted because I don't want to take a chance of accidentally hitting my space bar and it wipe out their social. But when you are verifying information with the patient, please ask the question where they have to give you the answer. So I would say, please verify your social. Don't say, is the last 4 digits of your social 3520? Make them give you the answer. So verify the social, tab to the last name, make sure that last name is in there correctly. Same with the first name. If there's not a middle name or middle initial, I would go ahead and ask them, do you have a middle name or middle initial? The person that registered this patient may not have gotten that information, even though they should have. Anything that's in this patient's account, I'm the last one that touched it. So I'm the one that's responsible for what's in this account. I want to make sure what's here for the patient is correct, because if there's something wrong, the last person that touched it, that's who they're going to come to. All right, I'm going to tab to the address. Please verify your address, or what is your address? Do you have an apartment suite unit? Even if address 2 is blank, you might still ask that because maybe the person that registered the patient forgot to put the information in there. And then I would just verify the zip code. If the zip code is correct, surely to goodness that city, they picked the right city off of there. Tab to the home telephone. That is the best contact phone number. So you want to ask the patient, please verify the best contact phone number. If it's different, change it. If they say, I do not have a phone number right now, change it to all 5s. If there's a work number, verify that, make sure we have the correct work phone number. And if there's an extension, cell number would be repeated in the cell number field if the home telephone number is their cell number. Make sure we have the correct sex. So please verify your gender. Birthday, if I looked that patient by their birthday, then I probably would skip that field, but you could go ahead and say, verify your birthday. We want to make sure we have the correct birthday with no typos in here. Employer, who is your employer? If they tell you somebody different, you click the binocular and you go find that new employer. There's an email address there. So I'm going to ask the patient, please verify your email address for the patient portal. Make sure we've got that in there correct. If it says none in that field, you might want to ask the patient, do you have an email address for the patient portal? When you hit your tab key, it brings you to a referring doctor. If you see a referring doctor in this field, please delete it out. Remember, if there's a referring doctor in this field in the registration folder, it will attach that referring doctor to every visit the patient has, whether that referring doctor referred them to that appointment or not. PCP, ask them, who is your PCP? If they give you the same name that's there, that's great. If it says none, you want to ask them, who is your PCP? Because the last time they were asked, they didn't have one. Maybe now they have one. If they give you a different name, you click your binocular and you go find that PCP. Okay. Verify the marital, employment, and student status. The HIPAA statement, you can pretty much skip that. This patient has not come in and signed their HIPAA, so we're going to leave that date that was entered there. If the patient, when they come in and they are seen, we will have them sign a privacy notice, the HIPAA, and we will change that date to that future date of 01/01/2024. If you see that date, you don't worry about the HIPAA unless you're checking the patient in. You verify in DMS that we have a copy of their privacy notice.
Question.
Okay, then you come down to relation to guarantor. Make sure that that is correct, okay? If this was a child patient, that relation should not say self, okay? Now, we didn't make any changes, but I'm not finished verifying my information. So I'm just going to go straight to my account tab. When I get to the account tab, the first thing I always do is look down here under contact and make sure under type that I have my patient listed on a line all by themselves as the subscriber. If not, I'm going to go add my patient on a line by themselves as the subscriber. And then once I have them in context down here, I'm going to look and make sure that I have a social security number here for my patient who is the subscriber. Because remember what I said, the social security number has to go with that visit when we bill the insurance company as a piece of identifying information that that patient is the patient they cover under their plan. So make sure you've got a social for your patient who is the subscriber. And then I'm going to come down here to the emergency contact. Now I'm on the phone verifying this information. So I'm just going to verify the emergency contact's name, best contact phone number, and relationship. When the patient checks in, you might want to verify the address and the other phone numbers that are listed. But for quick verification process right now, I'm just verifying the name, best contact phone number, and relationship. And then I'm going to go to my policies tab. And all I see right now is a primary medical. Will this medical coverage type bill this motor vehicle appointment? No. I need to have a coverage type of motor vehicle in here so that when this motor vehicle appointment hits the billing system, it's going to come to the policies tab and bill this motor vehicle policy. Can't do that if it's not in here. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go look in AIM and you're going to find the plan code for the motor vehicle plan that they're going to get billed. Give me 1 second. Okay. So the patient has State Farm motor vehicle. That's who's going to be paying for these visits due to that motor vehicle accident. I've looked in AIM I found the plan code and any other details I need to know about that. And it's going to tell you that somebody in your department, whether it's you or a referral coordinator or somebody else, is going to need to call that adjuster for that patient for that motor vehicle and get this appointment verified. Okay. If there's any questions about that, you need to call the insurance helpline and they will help you with that. But I've got what I need from AIM. I'm ready now to enter it into APM. So I'm going to click my magic wand. Now, because they already have a primary coverage type in here, when I click that magic wand, it's going to change this coverage to other. I want to change it to primary. And if you look up here, you're going to have two primaries. But this coverage type is what's really going to drive the billings part when these coverage type appointments hit that billing part. Does that make sense? Okay. So I've got primary where it says insurance. I'm going to click that binocular. Now, before I go up here and enter that plain code that I got out of AIM, I need to look at this coverage type right here. Do I want to enter that motor vehicle plan in as a medical coverage type? No. So I'm going to change this to say motor vehicle. And then when I click in the search for field, I'm going to type for this plan is going to be S as in Sam, Z as in zebra, A as in apple, and then hit my enter key. Now, real quick, you guys stay right there. I want to show you what happens if I change this back to medical. Let's say I forgot to put that in there and I put this code in. I didn't get any records, did I? Because motor vehicle is not entered in here under medical. You have to make sure you have the correct coverage type. All right, so I want you to select the MVA State Farm. Now, even though there are no copays associated with motor vehicle or workers' comp, you still need to pick something for your PCP and your specialist. It's going to be the co-insurance plan or no copay. So in this case, it's no copay for both of those, PCP and the specialist. And then you click OK. Brings you back out here. Now remember, when we scheduled the appointment, we had to attach the ailment to the appointment, right? Are we going to attach the ailment on the policies tab? No. Do not attach the ailment on the policy tab. It will not stay with the appointment and get billed with that appointment if you attach it on the policy tab. So leave it alone. Okay. All right. In the effective date, when it's motor vehicle or workers' comp, the effective date will always be the date of the accident. That was yesterday. I'm going to be lazy. Click the drop down and double click on yesterday's date. You could free text it in there if that motor vehicle happened 6 months ago. Instead of flipping through the calendar, go back to 6 months. You could just free text the date in there. Do not put an expiration date in there until that motor vehicle issue has been resolved and they're not going to pay for any more visits. And then you will come in here and change the motor vehicle from coverage from primary to not available and put in an expiration date. Subscriber, click the drop down. There's your patient who is listed as the subscriber. Cert number. This is where you're going to enter the claim number. You got that from the patient. It's going to be a capital R 1 2 3 4 5 6 for today's training purposes. Patient's relationship is always going to be self. It wants to know what the relationship of the subscriber to the patient is. The patient is always the subscriber unless they're younger than 30 days old, right? Now, when it's motor vehicle or workers' comp, you need a little bit more information. This policy telephone number down here. Now, of course, if there's a group name or group number with motor vehicle or workers' comp, you enter it. But this policy telephone number down here, you need to enter the telephone number for the patient's adjuster with that motor vehicle plan. So I'm just going to type 800-555-1212 and say that that's the adjuster's phone number. In the extension, I'm going to put 125 and say that is their extension. In the comment section, I'm going to type capital ADJ space, hit my space bar and type out the adjuster's name. I'm going to say Janet Collins is my adjuster's name or the patient's adjuster's name. Now, once someone in your department has called this adjuster and verified this appointment, that they're going to pay for this appointment, you will document that after the adjuster's name. If you have any questions about where to document it or how to document it, call the insurance helpline. Okay. Now, we're not going to hit save and just add this plan. When it comes to motor vehicle or workers' comp, you always, if they have private health insurance, enter that as a secondary motor vehicle plan. So just in case the motor vehicle or the workers' comp deny the claim, the private health insurance will pick up and pay. Okay. So we need to add this primary medical as a secondary plan to motor vehicle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my magic wand. I'm going to change this coverage from other to secondary. Okay. Now, their primary health insurance is Blue Access PPO. So I would go ahead and confirm in AIM that the right plan code, you're using the right plan code. You've looked in AIM, click the binocular. Before you enter that plan code, we're adding this as a secondary motor vehicle. We want to change this coverage type to say motor vehicle. If we don't, it's going to add it as a secondary medical. We don't need their health insurance listed as primary and secondary under the coverage type of medical. We need it listed secondary motor vehicle. In the search for field, you're going to type YRP. That's your Blue Access PPO. Again, you're confirming that plan code in AIM in the live system. So select that. They have co-insurance. They don't have a copay. So I'm going to select the co-insurance plan or no copay. That goes for either co-insurance plan or no copay for both PCP and specialist and click OK. Now, the effective date for the secondary private health insurance under motor vehicle actually has to be the effective date for the Blue Access PPO. So I'm going to click up here where it says primary medical, and I'm going to look at that effective date, 3/1/2021. I can remember that. I'm going to come down to the cert number field, click my cursor there. It's going to highlight it. You can either right click and copy or hold down your control key and hit the C key, and that will copy it. And then I'm going to go back up here to my secondary motor vehicle, and I'm going to come in the effective date, and I'm going to type 03/01/2021. Click the drop down for subscriber and pick my patient. Click in the cert number field and either right click and paste or hold the control key down and then click the V key and it will paste it in there. And then patient's relationship is self. Now you might want to go back up to the primary medical and see, is there a group name or group number? If so, copy one at a time. You can't copy both fields at the same time, but copy, come up here to your secondary health insurance that's listed as motor vehicle and paste them in those fields. Does that make sense? Now, when we scheduled the appointment, that automatically kicked it out to AHIQA to pull us up any warnings or errors, if there are any, and Experian. Experian will not verify the motor vehicle or workers' comp. I've already told you how you need to do that. You call the adjuster. You or someone in your department calls the adjuster to get that verified. You do need to verify the secondary motor vehicle private health insurance through Experian. So you will actually already have your patient up here in this gray header bar. So you will click on the CV. Now, because the training database doesn't talk to the live system of Experian, I'm going to click on work queue and go find a patient. That has this, well, let me try a different one that maybe has the same YRP insurance, Blue Access PPO. And I found one, but when you click on, you'll have the patient's name and you click on the button that says CV, it will bring you right here. Okay. And I can look over here. They only have one coverage because motor vehicle workers' comp is not in Experian. It's Blue Access PPO. Does that match my Blue Access PPO over here? Yes, the name matches. So under here, I'm going to click on my response. And then if I look at the copays, they have active coverage for their copays, but they have 0% coinsurance for PCP and 0 for specialists. But to be honest with you, this is a secondary motor vehicle, so it would be the no copay anyway, whether they have a coinsurance or not. When it's secondary to motor vehicle or workers' comp, it cancels out any copay or coinsurance. So we already picked the right one. And then I want to look down here at this plan date. And that date should match my effective date in APM for the secondary motor vehicle Blue Access PPO. And then I want to look at this name under the patient section. Look at this name and make sure this name matches my subscriber name. If the last name is misspelt, my subscriber name over here needs to be misspelt to match this. Does that make sense? Then I'm going to look at this member ID code. Now I could copy that and paste it in the cert number field instead of trying to match the two fields. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. And then the group name, I would make sure the group name from Experian matches my group name field in APM. If I've got something in APM, but the group name field is blank in Experian, I delete it out of APM. Same with the group ID in Experian, match it to my group number field in APM. Now, I'm not putting this real life patient's information on my fake patient. So that's why I'm not adding the stuff. But in the life system, you will do that. You want to make sure what comes back from Experian matches what we have in APM for that specific plan for that patient. Any questions? I'm finished with Experian, my verification. So I'm going to hit the X to close that. I'm still logged into the next bar. So the next patient that I either schedule or acknowledge for their visit will populate here. Now, I'm going to click on the additional info tab, even though my save button is available. I don't want to hit save yet. Hitting save too many times bogs the system down, makes it go slow. And when you're in the registration through the companion window, when you click save, it kicks you out. You got to come back in. So I'm going to go to my additional info tab. When I do that, I get a soft stop warning. This time I've got 3 plans listed, 2 Blue Access PPOs, but if I look over here, I've got 1 primary, 1 secondary PPO. Doesn't matter how many plans are listed here. You just click OK. Now, when you come through the appointment info tab, you want to make sure that you verify everything on here, especially the meaningful use. We have to report meaningful use to the federal government. Race, ethnicity, primary language, and whether they need an interpreter are the pieces of meaningful use that comes from the patient's registration. There's other pieces of meaningful use that comes from AHR, but we need to make sure the meaningful use in APM is correct. So we are reporting correct information. And the reason we have to report these fields is to show that we are not discriminating against our patients based on their race, ethnicity, primary language, or whether they need an interpreter. So I'm just going to start tabbing through these fields and I'm going to verify the race. Please state your race. If they have more than one, make sure that all the races are documented. Please state your ethnicity. What do you mean by that? Are you Hispanic or Latino? Verify that you have the correct English and language in there. Interpreter needed, make sure that that's correct. And then any of these other fields. To be honest with you, when I'm verifying information, patient AKA alias, if there's a name there, I'll verify that that is the name they want to be referred to. Alias 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'm not going to worry about verifying those. Oh, did you change your name from such and such? There's no need to verify that, okay? As long as we have their correct current name, we are good. Verify a maiden name on all females. Mother's maiden name on all patients. Father's first name on all patients. Contact preference, extremely important that we have the correct contact preference here. If the gender has not been determined, you should see unknown gender here, and on the patient tab, it would have defaulted to female. And then, of course, if they're a prisoner, you're going to see prisoner there. Once I've verified everything, I am going to click my save button. And I get that warning about the HIPAA. That's okay. I'm going to click OK. I get my invalid relationship warnings again. Just click OK. It will save all the changes I made in the registration folder. At this point, you can let the patient go off the phone because you are finished with the patient. Okay. And then I'm going to hit the X to close this, and I am done with the patient. I can move on to the next patient. Now, I do want to show you something, and you may run across this, so just watch the screen on this. I've just scheduled the appointment. I'm going to go to the patient info button, and it's going to bring up my patient information window. I'm going to click on registration. It's going to open up the registration companion window. So let's say I just scheduled a medical appointment, just for sake of purposes for this exercise. If you get the warning about the HIPAA, click OK. Unless they're standing in front of you, there's nothing you can do about that anyway. I'm going to click on the patient tab, and I'm going to tab through the fields and verify all of the information. I didn't make any changes because nothing had changed. I click on my account tab. I come down here to my subscriber, and I'll look at the Social Security number and make sure that I have the Social Security number in for the subscriber. And then I go up here to the emergency contact, and I verify that the emergency contact's name, phone number, and relationship are correct. Didn't make any changes. I moved to my policies tab. It was a medical appointment. The only insurance I need to worry about would be this primary medical. At this point, I've already scheduled the appointment, and then I came to the registration folder. So my patient will be up in the next bar. You click on the button that says CV, it brings up that coverage, and you match the fields for the primary medical that I scheduled the appointment under. If all those fields match and you don't make any changes, you close Experian for that patient, you click on additional info, and you come through and you verify race, ethnicity, primary language, whether they need an interpreter, maiden name, mother's maiden name, father's first name, and contact preference. Everything matched. There were no changes on this patient. My save button is not available. So to get out of the registration companion window, if you don't make any changes, is to look across your toolbar. Do you see the bloodshot eyeball, the log off icon? I see it up here, but I don't see it within the registration companion window. If you didn't make any changes and you're ready to close the registration companion window, you don't see the bloodshot eyeball or the log off icon, you hit the X to close that. That's how you get out of that registration companion window if you didn't make any changes. You're back to your patient information, you click the X and you click OK. And that concludes how to schedule an appointment for motor vehicle, adding an ailment, and making sure that that policy is in there. Okay, the next exercise is going to be for recurring appointments. So if you have your manual handy, page 50 walks you through all the steps to do a recurring appointment. So let me tell you what a recurring appointment is. This patient came in today to see Dr. Prim for that broken arm from that motor vehicle accident. At checkout, Dr. Prim wants to see them every 2 weeks for 2 months. If I add that up, that's 4 appointments. So instead of me going through here 4 different times on the patient scheduling tab and entering the information and scheduling the appointment 2 weeks out, 4 of those, I can do what's called recurring appointment. Okay. Before you do a recurring appointment, though, you want to make sure that the coverage type is the same. If there's an ailment that needs to be attached to those appointments, you're attaching the appointment, and it has to go with all of the appointments in the recurring that you set up. The resource is the same. They're going to come in and see the same resource for all of those appointments. The appointment type is the same. The referring doctor is the same, and the chief complaint is the same. So if all of this information is not the same for all of the appointments that you need to schedule under recurring, don't use the recurring feature. Just schedule them individually. All right, to do a recurring appointment, we're going to do motor vehicle. So we want to change our coverage type to say motor vehicle. And then click your big red cross there Your ailment will be there that we created just a few minutes ago. Look at the comments. We're scheduling these recurring appointments, and we're going to use this ailment that was created for that motor vehicle. And this ailment is going to go with all of those appointments. Okay, so this ailment, looking at the comments, does go with the appointment. They had a motor vehicle accident on March 23rd, 2021. They broke their right arm, and this is the claim number. So I'm going to single click to make sure that that ailment is selected. I'm going to come down here and check the box to attach to this appointment. Then I'm going to hit save. Once it saves it, I'll click OK, and my ailment is there. Now, because we just scheduled the appointment, the department location and resource are already there, and that is what we want. You can change this if it's different for this future appointment that you're scheduling. We're going to leave it and come down to the appointment type. They came in today and saw Dr. Prim as a new patient. They're going to come back as an established patient. So type an E. You get emergency visit. Then type an S. See how you type the first letter, it takes you that part of the alphabet. And then you type the next letter, it gave me established patient. Okay. Now, Dr. Humphreys is the referring doctor, so we're going to leave him. In the comments section, broken right arm. Now, Dr. Humphreys wants to see them 2 weeks from today. So before we click the recurring button and set up all the appointments that are going to occur within that series, we want to change this date to 2 weeks out. You can click the drop down. There's your calendar. 2 weeks from today will actually be April 7th. I'm going to change my calendar to say April 7th, or you can free text the date in there. So this appointment I'm getting ready to schedule, I know it's not needed for 2 weeks. So I'm going to go straight to the day I need it. May not have any openings that day in the live system, but it'll give you the first available on or after date that's available for this appointment. Now, this time we're going to click the button that says recurring. Now you have to set up your frequency and range of occurrence. So Dr. Prim said, I want to see this patient every 2 weeks. So under frequency, I'm not going to use daily. He didn't say I want to see him every 2, 3 days or 4 days. He said 2 weeks. So I'm going to click the radio dial for weekly. Then over to the right of weekly, recurs every. I'm going to click in there. He wants to see them every 2 weeks. So I'm going to put a 2 there. If he wanted to see him every week, it would be 1. If he wanted to see him every 3 weeks, it would be 3. Okay. Of course, if you want to see him monthly, you would use that radio dial and put your recurring in there every month, every 2 months, whatever the case may be. Range of occurrence, we're going to end it after so many visits. You could end it by a certain date. So 2 months, you could put the end by the 2 months from today. But we're going to do end after 4 occurrences. If I count up every 2 weeks for 2 months, that's going to be 4 visits. Does that make sense how you fill out the recurring appointment criteria? All right, click OK. Now, this looks familiar, but a little bit different. Your open times window, you see that right here. But you got a little other section down here, selected appointments. Look up at the top. It says scheduling weekly appointment 1 of 4. You got your patient's name, the information that you had over here for the department location, resource, and appointment type. We got lucky in the training database. We had April 7th right here as our on or after date. So we got lucky. April 7th is available. Now you want to ask the patient, since they're going to come every 2 weeks for 2 months, is there a certain time they prefer to come on? Do they prefer mornings or afternoons? Find a time that works for them. For training today, just pick a time. It doesn't matter what time you pick. Once you've got it selected, down at the bottom, you're going to click select. It will drop it down here. Hasn't scheduled it yet. It's just holding it for right now. But look up at the top. scheduling 2 of 4. And if you look at that date, it's actually a little less than 2 weeks from today, from this date. But down here, the first appointment was April 7th. It skipped 2 weeks from that date because we put in there range of occurrence 2 weeks, right? If you look at this date, that's the 18th. So find a time on there. Usually they want to come at the same time, and then come down and click select. It drops it down here. And now look at this date. April 3rd is actually 2 weeks from the last appointment that you scheduled on the 19th. See how that works? So instead of coming out here 4 separate times and filling this information in, you can pick all 4 of those appointments under this one window. So go ahead and find your time, click select. Now we're scheduling 4/4, find that time, click select. So once you have all of the appointments in the recurring appointments that you set up on your frequency and range of occurrence, you'll see them all listed here. Now, see this box that says tag? It means if you print the appointment reminder, you're going to get an appointment reminder for each of these appointments. You might want to say, okay, I've got you scheduled for April 7th, April 19th, May the 3rd, May 17th. Give them all the dates. And if they say, oh, I can't do that April 17th on that day, if you uncheck that, it will not add this appointment on that day. You will then have to come back in and schedule that 4th appointment, or whichever one of those appointments doesn't work, individually as a single appointment. Does that make sense? Okay. When you click schedule, it will automatically schedule all 4 of these appointments, and you are finished with recurring appointments. Because this patient was checking out, we do not need to go to the registration folder now. When the patient checked in, everything was verified at check-in. So checking a patient out and scheduling future appointments, you don't have to go back to the registration folder. So you're actually finished. You can let the patient go, hand them their appointment reminders, and send them on their way. So this next exercise, we are going to go through and schedule a workers' comp appointment. The same thing, coverage type, ailment, but not for motor vehicle workers' comp. But when we get to the registration folder, we have to remember when we're verifying the stuff on the patient tab that the employer is filled in, as well as the employment status, okay? So we are not going to use this patient. We're going to use the patient on the blue card. So I want you to click your binocular. This patient has called in, and search for the patient. Now, mine defaults to patient name and date of birth. I'm not going to change it to social. May or may not find them with the social. I'm just going to go ahead and use the patient name and date of birth. So remember, you're typing in the patient's full last name, capitalized first letter of the last name, comma directly after, space or not, and then full first name, capitalized first letter of the first name. And then come down to the date of birth and enter the date of birth, exactly 8 digits. And then when you click search, you should find that patient. You'll select that patient and click OK. Okay, we have our patient in context. We're now ready to schedule the appointment. Because they're already in APM, we found them. We'll schedule the appointment first, and then we go to the registration folder and verify everything. So it is a workers' comp appointment. They told you that. So what would be my coverage type? Workers' comp. So I'm going to click that drop down and select that. That means I have to have an ailment, right? Click your big red cross. And again, if there's an ailment already there, you can look at the comments and see, does that ailment go with this appointment? If so, you just select it, attach, save, and OK, and you're done. But there's not an ailment here. We're going to click our magic wand. We're going to come down to ailment type, and we're going to select workman's compensation. It's a workers' comp ailment. Don't forget your ailment comment. You want it to populate up here, as well as when you attach it, save, and OK, you see it in the ailment field over here. So in the ailment comment, the date of the accident. And for training purposes, we're just going to say it was yesterday. Put your date in there, no dashes or slashes. Hit your space bar. What got injured? I'm just going to say back injury. Might get a little more detail from the patient. You can put that there, but for training, we're just going to put back injury. Hit your space bar. It's going to be the claim number. Usually when it's workers' comp, the claim number is the patient's social, but sometimes not. That doesn't mean 100% it's going to be the social. For today, I want you to put the patient's social here. That's what we're going to use as the claim number. Once you have your ailment comment, the date of the accident, nature of the injury or illness, and the claim number, you'll then come down and fill these fields out. So date of first symptom is going to be the accident. I'm going to click that calendar and double click on yesterday's date. Now, again, you could free text the date in there. If it was 6 months or 4 months or whatever, you don't want to flip through the calendar. Just type the date in there. I'm going to tab to the time of first symptom. Again, it's military format. It happened about 11 o'clock yesterday morning. Military format for 11 o'clock is 1100. If you don't know your military format, you need to learn it or figure it out because ailments require military format on time. Condition related to employment. If you click the drop down, you have two options. You're always going to pick yes. Address. For today, I'm just going to say Kentucky Clinic. Again, you guys will put in as much information as they can tell you as to where that workers' comp injury or illness occurred. State, I'm going to type KK because Kentucky Clinic is here at UK in Lexington, Kentucky. Comment, I'm going to say back injury. That is what got injured. Now remember, before you click save, check the box to attach to this appointment. And then you click save. Once it saves it, you click OK. And when you come back out here in the ailment field, because you typed the comments in the ailment, you actually see those comments here. So you know you attached an ailment because you see the comments. You know you attach the correct ailment because you see the comments. All right, scheduled department. We're going to use the same department. Just click in that field and type OR. You'll get orthopedic surgery. Tab to the location, type OR, and go find orthopedic surgery trauma. Again, if you want to use the drop downs, that's fine. You just make sure you click that selection off of the drop down. Otherwise, it confuses the system and it may turn that field red and you have to come back and fix it. Tab to the resource. We're going to use Dr. Selby for this appointment. So type SEL, and I'm going to stop right there because I get Jeff Selby. All right, once you have the resource they're going to see, you're going to tab to the appointment type. And this is going to be a new patient for Dr. Selby. There is a referring doctor. They went to UKED. So click the binocular and let's go find Dr. Humphreys. You know how he spells his name. You can spell it completely. I misspelt it, so I did not get any options. So I'm going to back up. And spell it the right way. There's Roger Lloyd Humphreys, UK Emergency Medicine. And then click OK. The comments, extremely important that you put the chief complaint. So I'm going to say back injury. You can add other information that you need to related to the appointment. You just hit your space bar and put the other information. Now we're going to schedule this appointment. We're going to go sometime next week. But in training, if we leave March 24th, it's going to give us today's date. We're going to pretend that by manipulating this date that Dr. Selby doesn't have anything open until next week. So in training, we're going to change this date, but we're going to overlook that we changed that date. Does that make sense? And act like we left it as today, but when we clicked open times, we're going to get the day that we pick right here. So let's click this drop down. Let's do the 31st. So next Wednesday. And we're going to click open times. You should find the list of openings for Dr. Selby. You're going to find an appointment, click schedule. Okay, you get your schedule confirmation box. Again, you can just refresh to the patient. I've got you scheduled for next Wednesday, the 31st at 1:30, whatever other details you tell the patient for your department. You can check the print appointment reminder if you want to. I don't know if you mail it out today, if they'll get it by next Wednesday, but use your discretion on that. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. The appointment is scheduled, but I'm not finished with the patient. I just scheduled a workers' comp appointment. I need to get to the registration folder and make sure that I've got a workers' comp policy in there. If I don't, I'm going to have to add it. So to get to the registration folder, you're going to click on the button that says patient info. It brings up the patient information window. Come down here and click the button that says registration. Okay, it does open up the registration companion window. It brings your patient in context. You don't have to look for them again because I didn't go directly to the registration folder. If I had, I would have had to look the patient up again. I am not checking this patient in. I can do whatever I want through this registration companion window except check the patient in. All right, so we're on the summary tab. We're going to click on the patient tab. Now, the first exercise in this series or this video, we went through and scheduled a motor vehicle, and we went through all of the fields that you're verifying. You're going to do the same thing on every appointment you schedule for every patient. So you go to your patient tab, you tab through these fields, verify the information, change if there's any changes, enter the new information directly in the field. Don't hit save. Hitting save until the end, where you hit save one time and it saves everything you've done. You're going to go to your account tab. You're going to come down here under type and click on the one that says SUB, should be your patient. You're going to look and make sure that you have a social security number in the social security number field for the subscriber who is your patient. Very important we have that social there. Then you're going to click on the contact that's listed as emergency contact or EMG. And because we just scheduled the appointment, we're just doing a quick verification. On the emergency contact, I'm just going to verify the name, best contact phone number, and relationship. And then I'm going to move to my policies tab. I just scheduled a workers' comp. Do I have under coverage types listed on any policies a workers' comp? That means that this appointment will not get billed to the workers' comp plan because it's not in the policies tab. So I have to add it. So I'm going to click my magic wand. This coverage, coordination of benefit, went to other because there's already a primary up there. I'm going to select primary and I'll have two primaries, but the coverage type will be different on this primary that I'm entering. It's going to match the workers' comp. Does that make sense? Okay, you're going to then go to the binocular to the right of insurance. You've looked in AIM. AIM is going to be your best friend. That's where you find your plan codes and details about those plans. So the plan code in AIM was SE9, but before we enter that, what do we need to do to that coverage type that defaults to medical? Change it. So we're going to change the coverage type to say workers' comp. And then we're going to enter the plan code that we got out of AIM, which is S as in Sam, E as in Elsie, and the number 9. And then you can either click search or hit your enter key. You should get the WC Sedgwick that goes with that plan code. So you're going to select that. And because it's workers' comp, there's no copay. So I'm going to select no copay for both my PCP and my specialist. And then I'm going to click OK. Now we have our ailment attached to the appointment. Do we need to attach it on the policies tab? Correct, we do not. If we do, it will not stay attached as it flows downstream to the other systems. Now, there's an employer field here. Do I fill it in here? No. On the patient tab is where you need to make sure the employer is filled in and the employer status when it's workers' comp. So I'm going to fill in the effective date. The effective date would be the date of the injury or illness from workers' comp, and that was yesterday. So I'm just going to click that drop down for the calendar and double click on yesterday's date. Yes, you can free text the date in there if you need to. Assign should say yes. If it doesn't, you call the insurance helpline. Subscriber, click your drop down. Your patient is listed as a subscriber, so go ahead and select them. Cert number, because the claim number for this workers' comp is going to be their Social Security number. That's what we're going to enter. But if it happens to be a workers' comp plan that the Social Security number is not the claim number, you put in the actual claim number. Okay. Patient's relationship, I'm going to click in there and type an S because that is always self. The relationship of the subscriber to the patient is self. If there's a group name or group number, you're going to enter it here. Policy telephone number. I'm going to click in there and type in a phone number and an extension for the adjuster. These plans, workers' comp or motor vehicle, Experian will not go verify those. We have to call the adjuster and get that appointment verified. We need that phone number. And then down in the comment section, we need to know who we're calling. So I'm going to do capital ADJ for adjuster and then type out the adjuster's name. It's going to be James Lawrence. And then again, if you are the one that calls and verifies this appointment, they're going to pay for this appointment, then you need to document it here in the comment section. Any questions about where to document that you verified the workers' comp or the motor vehicle? Call the insurance helpline. All right, now, because we added that plan as primary workers' comp, we're going to add their secondary medical as workers' comp. Because again, if workers' comp denies this, the private health insurance has to pick up and pay. So we've got a primary medical, but I've scheduled a workers' comp. So I need a secondary workers' comp with their private health insurance in case we need to bill that. So I'm going to have to add that as secondary. Click your magic wand. Your coverage goes to other. You're going to change that to secondary. The insurance, you're going to click your magic binocular. Now, don't forget, we don't need to add it again as medical. It's already there as medical. We don't need it listed twice as medical. We want to change this coverage type to workers' comp. And then they have Anthem UK PPO. So that plan code, when I looked in AIM, is AN2. AN2. And there's your UK PPO. So select that. And again, it's going to be secondary to the primary workers' comp. That means even if they do have a copay, they won't have it for this motor vehicle. So we're going to select no copay for both PCP and specialist and click OK. Now I'm going to go up here to my primary medical Anthem UK PPO and look at that effective date. 7/1/21. I can remember that. I'm going to come down in the cert number field and I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to go back up here to my secondary workers' comp, click in the effective date, and that was 07/01/2021. Click the drop down, select my patient as the subscriber, click in the cert number field and paste that in that cert number field that I copied. I would go back up to my primary medical and look and see, is there a group name or group number? If so, I copy the group name, come back to my secondary workers' comp and enter the group name. Go back, and if there's a group number, copy that, come back to my secondary workers' comp medical and copy that group number field. Patient's relationship is going to be self. All right, now, when we scheduled the appointment, their primary medical PPO was already in the policies tab. So it kicked it out to Experian to go out to the UK PPO and verify the information that they're still eligible under that plan. Experian will not go out to workers' comp and verify anything there. That's why you have to call that adjuster. So when it comes to you entering the secondary health insurance under the workers' comp or motor vehicle, you do need to verify with Experian, the result that comes back from Experian, the coverage, that these fields match what Experian has listed. Okay. And then you're going to go to your additional info tab. You'll click OK to your invalid relationship warning. Doesn't matter how many claims are on there. And you start tabbing through these fields. Don't worry about the A and A. They're on the phone. You're not having them sign one. But you want to verify their race, ethnicity, primary language, whether they need an interpreter, if they have a preferred name there, religion, if your department gathers that information, verify the maiden name on all females, mother's maiden name on all patients, father's first name, contact preference. And then once you've verified everything, you're going to click save. It will say, well, it'll kick up this invalid relationship warning. You click OK. It'll save everything, bring you back to your patient information window. You can either hit the X or you click OK. And that is how you schedule a workers' comp visit for a patient. Add an ailment, attach it to the visit, go to the registration folder, verify everything in that registration folder. And because it's workers' comp on the patient tab, make sure the employer field is completed and the employer status is completed. And then when you get to the policies tab, you're going to have to add that workers' comp policy if it's not already there as primary. And then you add their private health insurance as secondary. And then you finish the rest of your verification, you save, and you are finished scheduling this appointment for a workers' comp. Okay, the next exercise we're going to do is I'm going to show you how to link a referral to an appointment. So let's say a referral is required, be it by the insurance company or the provider that you scheduled the appointment for, says that any new patients that I see have to be referred from their PCP or I won't see them. So get with your department and find out who takes care of referrals. Do you need to call and get that referral? Or what the case may be. So once the referral has been obtained for an appointment that it's required, I'm going to show you how to enter the referral. So for this exercise, we'll use the same patient. So what you would do is you'd go to patient scheduling, you would look for the patient, get them in context, then you go to appointment activity. Appointment activity is the tab that holds all of the appointments for the patient, past and future, back to July 2012. So you might have a big long list and you may have to scroll down to find the appointment that you're working with. So let's say that this appointment for Dr. Selby on March 31st, it is a new patient appointment. He requires a referral. He is a specialist. He will not see new patients unless the PCP refers them. So we've got the referral. We're actually going to enter the referral and link it to this appointment. So we've got the appointment in context. We're going to right click on that appointment anywhere on that line. You're going to get a bunch of options. You're going to come down and you're going to select incoming referrals. Now, there's not a referral already here. So we're going to click our magic wand. And that's going to start a new entry of a referral. Now it's going to bring in their primary health insurance. Because in training, this patient has Anthem UK PPO, we're going to leave it as that insurance. That's their primary medical. So we're going to leave it as that. Referred from, I want you to click that binocular. Dr. Humphreys, or actually their PCP referred them to this specialist. So let's go find Dr. Fawns. I'm just going to type her last name, Fawns, and click search. Now, in the training database, she is listed there, but does not have an address. In the live system, her address is there. So she's listed here twice for training today. Pick the one that doesn't have an address and click OK. Referred to, click in that field, don't click the drop down. There's, I don't know how many providers listed on that drop down. So I'm going to type SELB, and I could stop right there because it automatically fills in Jeff Selby. That's who I want. I didn't have to scroll down all the way down that alphabet through 600 different names to find Dr. Selby. I just started typing his last name. Now, click in the authorization number field. When you're entering a referral in APM, you're going to enter that referral number here. Now, when it's a PCP that's referring to a specialist, it's usually the referral number is going to be their NIP number or NPI. What is that? NIP, I believe. You're going to put that number here. So for training purposes today, I want you to type 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to pretend that that is that PCP's NIP number. Diagnosis, if there is one on the referral, then you will click the binocular and you will go find it. If there's not one, then you just leave it blank. But we're going to leave it blank, but I want to show you how to do some searches. So let's click the binocular to the right of diagnosis. And in that search for field, let's type ulcer. When you hit enter, you're going to get a bunch, okay? But let's say that referral said gastric ulcer. So I'm going to click up there and change it to gastric ulcer. I didn't get any options. So let me do gastric, comma, space, ulcer. If you don't find what you're looking for, you may have to do what we call a wildcard search. You're going to put your % sign. And directly after that, type the word ulcer. Now, the good thing about the % sign, the wildcard search, is whatever word you put in there, it's going to bring up anything and everything that has that word in it. So you're going to get a pretty long list. Now, we realize that you guys at the front end are not coders. So you're just going to try to get as close to that diagnosis as you can. All right, let's click cancel because on the referral from PCP to the specialist, there's not a diagnosis code on there. Same with procedure. If there is one on the referral, you want to enter it. So click that binocular. I'm going to show you how to search procedure. Same thing. You could use your wildcard search here. But let's say it's a consultation. So I'm just going to type consult. And I get these options. But I don't know, is it a consult visit level 1, 2, 3? I don't know. All the referral says is consultation. So that would be the one that I picked. Does that make sense? Go ahead and click cancel. Again, our referral today does not have a diagnosis or a procedure on there, so we're going to leave it blank. Now, expiration date. Most referrals are only good for 30 days. Unless the PCP says, you know what, I've referred them over for, let's say, some stomach issues. You're going to do a consultation, then you're probably going to need a couple of visits for treatment. So I will add 3 visits to that referral. So let's type a 3 there. I'm sorry. I will add more time to that because I know at UK, you guys are pretty booked up. So it may take a couple months to actually get this issue resolved for this patient. So I'm going to type 06/01/2021 as my expiration date. Authorized visits, I'm going to put 3 visits on there. That means that this patient can have 3 visits under this same referral without having to call and get a new one because either the date has expired or there's no longer visits left on there. Because it's more than 1 visit, in the notes section, we need to document some stuff. If it's only 1 visit, I would come down here and put the date of the visit that I've scheduled it for. But since it's more than 1, I'm going to say 1 space of space 3 because there's 3 authorized visits, space. And then I'm going to look up here. I scheduled it for March 31st. So I'm going to do MAR 31 2021, using space instead of slashes. Now, when another appointment is scheduled, someone needs to come in here. I would put a / to separate and say 2 of 3 and whatever date that is, just to keep documentation of when these referrals have been used. Does that make sense? All right, so let's just leave 1 of 3 and the date that we actually scheduled it for. Now, down at the bottom, you have 2 boxes. I wish the attached to appointment was not there. If you attach a referral, it will not stay with that appointment. You have to link the referral. So link do not count visit is what you're always going to pick when it's a referral. When it's an ailment, you only have 1 option, attach, and that's fine. But the referrals, it gives you 2 options, but we can't use attach because it will not stay with that appointment. So you want to check the box, link do not count visit. Then you're going to hit save. Once it saves it, you'll then click OK. And then you're going to see in the R column that stands for referrals, a green box. This helps the check-in staff. Now, when you make the appointment, remember the schedule confirmation box? I showed you the referral required on there. If you had checked that box before you entered the referral and linked it, this box would be yellow. So at check-in, when a patient comes in, they're on the appointment management tab. You have the same columns, but you have different patients. But the R and the C column are there. If there's a yellow square there, then that person checking that patient in will not acknowledge them until that referral is taken care of. If a referral is needed, they're going to have to get that referral linked to that appointment before they acknowledge the patient. Does that make sense? But if it's green, that referral has already been linked to that appointment. So when they're checking them in, they see the green box. They don't need to worry about that referral. Any questions? Okay, that's how you link a referral to an appointment that's already been scheduled. All right, this next exercise is going to walk you through how to flag your patient as a prisoner. Now, I do want to say that if you are scheduling an appointment for the patient who is a prisoner, your coverage type will say other, no matter what they're coming in for. It's going to say other. You'll schedule the appointment and then you'll go to the registration folder and you'll walk through this process to flag them as a prisoner and add their prison plan as the policy. So for this exercise, we're not going to schedule a prison appointment under the coverage type of other. We're just going to say that we've gotten information that this patient is a prisoner. So we want to go flag the registration folder that they are a prisoner. So what I want you to do is go up to the top to your 2 folders, click directly on the registration folder. Now you don't have a patient there. So I want you to click your binocular and go find that patient that is now a prisoner. And I'm going to use the name and the birthday to search for my patient. Okay, so once your patient is resulted, you single click to select them and you click OK. You're directly in the registration folder. You're going to go to the patient tab. Flagging the patient as a prisoner requires 2 things that you're going to change on the patient tab. First thing is the address. Now, on page 14 in your manual, most of our prisoners come from either Blackburn Correctional, North Point, Fayette County Detention Center, or FMC Lexington. Notice how they are listed in the manual. When you're entering the prison that they're coming from, enter it exactly the way it is in the manual if it's one of these 4 prisons. There are reports ran on prisoners, and if you don't enter the name the way it's listed in the manual, it becomes too difficult to find all of the patients that are actually prisoners from that facility to get them included in that report. So it's extremely important that you follow the manual on that. First thing you're going to change on the patient is address 1. You're going to click there. You don't have to delete that. You can if you want to. But this is where you're going to put the name of the jail or prison facility the patient's being housed in. We're going to use FMC Lexington. So I'm going to do capital F, O, and look what happened. So when you click in the field, Jamie, and you type an F, all right, because there are other people on the account tab, maybe an emergency contact that has the same address as my patient, it wants to know how I want to handle that. Do I want to change the address for all contacts with that address? No, I do not. I don't know if that emergency contact's in prison, the same prison the patient is. And to be honest with you, it doesn't matter because they are not the patient. So I'm going to change my radio dial to say this contact only, and then click OK. And then I can finish filling out the facility. So capital FMC space Lexington, make sure you capitalize the L in Lexington. And then the address too, whether there's anything there or not. You're going to put the actual physical location of that jail or prison. For training today, we're going to say it's 3301 space Spur, SPURR space Road, RD. Okay. I think that's actually the Blackburn address, but for training, that's what I'm going to use. Now, it is in Lexington, Kentucky, but the zip code is 40511. I'm not going to click in there and type it. I'm going to click the binocular and type 40511 and search for Lexington, Kentucky with that zip code. See what I was talking about earlier? You may have multiple cities or a couple cities with the same name, but look at the spelling on it. Make sure you're picking the right one. So I'm going to use this Lexington for that zip code and click OK. Didn't need to change the city and state. I just need to change that zip code. Always go through the zip code, the binoculars for the zip code table. All right. So like I said, on the patient tab, you change two pieces of information. One is the address. Address 1, name of the jail or prison facility. Address 2, the physical location of that jail or prison. The second thing you're going to change is the home telephone number, the best contact phone number. You're going to click in there and you're going to type all 5s. So make sure you type 10 5s there. And then hit your tab key. You want to make sure that field doesn't turn red because you either type too many or not enough. And then you got to go back and fix it. Don't worry about any of the other numbers on there. We just want to make sure that Televox does not attempt to call or text a patient who is a prisoner. Don't hit save. You want to go to your account tab. Now on the account tab, there's 2 things that you need to change. First thing you want to do is look and make sure that your patient, who happens in this case to be the own guarantor, make sure that's selected. And then you go up here to where it says account type. It defaults to standard. You're going to change that to prisoner. So make sure your patient, the account type says prisoner. And then you're going to come down here to the EMG and you're going to delete that emergency contact out. So you're going to hit that red X to the left. Once you've selected them, hit the red X and it says delete contact, whatever their name is. Are you sure? Yes. The only time you will not see an emergency contact listed or something for an emergency contact listed is when they are a prisoner. Okay. Now you're going to go to your policies tab. Now they've got 2 primaries and a secondary in here. They have a primary medical, primary motor vehicle, and a secondary motor vehicle. If I had just scheduled an appointment with the coverage type other, would it have a plan to bill to? No, because that coverage type is not here. So you're going to look in AIM and you're going to find the plan code for Kentucky State Prisons. Once you found that plan code, you're going to click that binocular and add that plan. Now this coverage is going to say primary. I'm going to have 3 primaries listed here when it's all said and done. But it doesn't matter because the coverage type is what defines which plan gets billed for what type of appointment you scheduled with the coverage type. All right. Insurance, I'm going to click that binocular. Now, before I type in the plan code that I found in AIM, what am I going to do this coverage type? And when it's a prison plan, you're going to use other. because you scheduled the appointment under other. The plan has to be put in with the coverage type of other. This in the search for field, type AKP. A is in apple, K is in kite, P is in Paul. There's your Kentucky State Prison Plan. So you select that. There's no copays for prisoners. And then you click OK. The effective date will be their incarceration date. So let's say they were incarcerated February 14th, 2021. Party too much on Valentine's Day. Subscriber will be the patient. The cert number will be their inmate number. Okay. So let's just type in some numbers. To be honest with you, today in training, it doesn't matter what numbers you put in there, but in the live system, you will be putting their inmate number there. Relationship is going to be self. If there's a group name or group number, you're going to enter that. Now, here's the thing. Experian will go verify a prison plan. So you want to, we just added that plan. We want to click save on the policies tab. That will kick it out to Experian to go out to that payer and pull us back eligibility. We're going to get our invalid relationship. You click OK. And once your hourglass goes away, you're going to move on to your additional info tab. There's two things here you're going to change. You're going to come down here to the contact preference, and you're going to change that to say, do not contact. And then your special status, you're going to change that to say prisoner. Now, don't hit save. You want to go back to your policies tab, because at this point, you will have your response from Experian on the next bar for that patient that you just put in with that prison plan. Now, I'm going to click the work queue and go find a patient that hopefully is still in prison. Okay. No, they're no longer in prison. See, that says inactive. So let me go find a different patient. So they're no longer eligible for the prison plan because they've been released. I've got a little cheat sheet here, but I need to update it with somebody else that's in jail now. Okay. So on the gray header in the next bar, your patient's name will appear. You will click on CV. It will bring up the coverage, this page right here for this patient. You can look, they've got one plan. It is the Kentucky State Prison. You can see that right here. You click on my response. Now, you don't need to worry about these copays. Don't worry about them at all, because there's no copays for a prisoner. Okay. But you do want to look down here at this plan date. But to be honest with you, this plan date is the actual contract with the prison plan. So I would not change this effective date in APM, because that's the date they were incarcerated, right? I wouldn't change it to this. But because I'm not an insurance guru, I don't know a lot about the insurance, I would recommend that you call the insurance helpline and ask them what you do for the effective date. Do you actually change it to the plan date that's in Experian? You do not. Okay. Okay.
It goes by whatever.
So you've already been through that
We
training.
do that through the ED with prisoners all the time.
Gotcha.
So-
Okay. So don't worry about the effective date matching the plain date, because this effective date in APM is the incarceration date. All right, then you're going to look at the name, and the name should match. Okay. And then you're going to look and see, is there a group number or a group name? If there is in Experian, you want to make sure you have that group name and group number in APM that matches. Again, you can copy those fields and paste them over. You can copy the member ID code, should be their inmate number, So you can copy that over. All right, and then you're finished verifying Experian on that patient. Go ahead and hit save. You'll get your invalid relationship warning, click OK. And it will save that patient's account. Everything that you just did. Now, let's say that you get information the patient is no longer a prisoner. That's on the top of page 15, what you need to do. So let's go back to our summary tab. And let's click the binocular and look the same patient up again, because I want you to see what happens when they are flagged as a prisoner and you have completed all the steps correctly. If you miss any of those steps, you're not going to get a pop-up box that says warning prisoner. We do not release information related to our prisoners. So if you flag the patient as a prisoner, I would take one step and pull them up again and make sure you get this box. Because if you missed one of those steps, you need to go back and fix that so that it does pop up this account type warning that says prisoner. So if anybody calls wanting to know when this patient's appointment is, we do not release that information. You're going to click OK to this warning box. Now, you've gotten information that your patient is no longer a prisoner. You need to go and reverse what we just did. So you're going to go to your patient tab. You see the prison or the jail facility in the address one field, the name. You're going to click in there and you're going to ask the patient or put in the patient's address. Now, if you cannot get the patient's address, you type the word unknown here. Okay. So you guys for training today, just put in an address for your patient. Remember your streets, your drives, your avenues, you're going to put abbreviate, but you're not going to put that punctuation, no period. Now I'm going to tab to address 2 and I'm going to hit my delete key. And then if you have an apartment, a suite, a unit, whatever, you go ahead and put that in there. Otherwise you leave it blank if there's not one. You're going to click the binocular to the right of the zip code. I'm going to use Nicholasville. I'm going to say this patient lives in Nicholasville. Notice over here, I've got Lexington, Kentucky with that zip code. I'm going to put in Nicholasville. I like to use this one because look at all the options here. There's one that's abbreviated for Nicholasville. We do not use that. So please do not select that. I'm going to pick that one because that is the correct spelling. The other two are misspelled. And I'm going to click OK. When I come back out here, look what it did. It changed my city for me. I didn't have to type in a new city. Okay. All right, then I'm going to go up here to this home telephone number. If I can get a phone number, I will change it to that phone number. If I cannot, I will leave all 5s. Okay. But for training today, I'm going to go ahead and put in a phone number. Now don't hit save. Go to your account tab. Make sure your patient is highlighted and then come up here under account type and change this from prisoner back to standard. Now they're no longer a prisoner. They need to have something documented as an emergency contact. Okay. So you're going to click your magic wand and you're going to enter an emergency contact. Now in your manual, when we created the new patient, I walked you through the steps. If the patient is unavailable to ask, or they state they don't have an emergency contact, you'll use those examples. Otherwise, you will put in an emergency contact, whoever it is for the patient. I'm going to leave the last name and because this is going to be her husband. I'm going to leave the address because I'm going to say that this emergency contact lives with the patient, but I am going to change this phone number because if I look at that number and then look up here at the patient's number, the emergency contact will have a different phone number. So I'm going to click there and I'm going to start typing an area code, but look what I get. I get this box. And it just so happens that this time it is correctly selected for this contact only. So I'm going to click OK, and then I can finish my emergency contact's phone number. If I can get a work number for the emergency contact, go ahead and enter that. Cell number, I'm going to go ahead and repeat that number that I have up there saying that that is their cell number. Relationship, I know that surely they know the relationship of the emergency contact. Birthday, if they don't know the birthday, there's that one default birthday of 01/01/1900. Otherwise, you put in their emergency contact's birthday. You do not need a social security number for an emergency contact. You only need that for the subscriber and a guarantor if the patient is not their own guarantor. You can put in the employer name if you have a work number. Otherwise, you can leave it. Need to check the box for emergency contact. Yes, I want to make that person the emergency contact. And then I pick the relationship. I'm going to say spouse. Remember, if the contact's not listed on that dropdown, you pick other. And in the comment section, you need to document what that relationship is. Now, you're going to go to the policies tab. We're going to expire this prison plan, but this will work for any plan that the patient is currently no longer eligible for. You're going to do the same thing. Does that make sense? That primary coverage type other, Kentucky State Prison, we want to expire that plan. So where it says coverage, it says primary, we're going to click the drop down and select not available. And then we're going to put an expiration date in. Now, if it's any other plan but the prison, you are going to put the last day of the previous month as the expiration date. But this is a prisoner, so we're going to put their release date. What date did they get released? I'm going to say they got released March 15th of 2021. Then I'm going to hit my tab key to make sure that it takes that date. I didn't do a typo. And now if you look up here under your policy information, you see not available with coverage type other, Kentucky State Prison, the status says expired. That goes for any plan that is no longer effective for the patient. You expire it. You go in and you coverage type is not available and you put in an expiration date. And generally it's the last day of the previous month. All right. So on the policies tab, we expired the prison plan. Now we're going to go to the additional info, click OK to your invalid relationship warnings, and we're going to change the do not contact if they want to be contacted. We're going to change it. I'm going to say by text. And then where it says prisoner, I'm going to click that drop down and I'll click right in between the two prisoners that's listed there, and that will wipe that out. Now you want to make sure that you hit save so it saves everything you just did. Click OK to your invalid relationship warning. And once it saves it, we're going to go back to the summary tab and we're going to look this patient up again to make sure that we don't get that pop-up box that says warning prisoner. They're no longer a prisoner. We want to make sure we didn't miss any steps to unflag them as a prisoner. So I'm going back to my summary tab. I'm going to click my binocular and go find this patient again. Select them in the results area, click OK. I did not get that pop-up box that says warning prisoner. So I've done what I need to unflag the patient as a prisoner. And that's how you do it. That concludes the training exercises included in this video. As a reminder, at the end of the day, you want to log out of all of the systems that you have logged into. Each one of them have a proper way to log out. For Experian, you will just go up here to the eCare Next, and you will click the X, and that will log you out of Experian Next bar. For APM, you're going to click your bloodshot eyeball or the log off icon. So you'll click that. Are you sure you want to log off? You click yes. And then you're going to hit the X in the top right-hand corner and you have properly logged out of APM.